Hi, guys, and welcome back to the Red Mist podcast with me, Sishadri. This is your one stop shop for everything Liverpool Football Club, and welcome to Raw Reactions, the very first Raw Reactions episode. So, basically, the concept of Raw Reactions is something that I took kind of from YouTube in the sense that you have people who do match reactions, and you have people on Twitch as well who stream their own reactions as they're watching the game. So this is something like that, but except this is not live. So you're listening to it on a podcast, it's not live. So the concept of raw reactions is that I would record my thoughts as the game goes on, but in terms of, I would record it before the game when the lineups are released. I would record it at halftime when the first half has been played, and I would record it at full time. So, what you're going to hear in three different segments is my thoughts at the moment when the lineups were announced, at the moment when the halftime whistle was blown, and then at the moment when the full time whistle was blown as well. So it's a unique concept, I know, and I'm hoping that with this you can sort of relive some of the game. If you can sort of relive some of the game. You can maybe you disagree with some of my thoughts at the time. Maybe in hindsight I look like an idiot. Whatever. I mean, the point is for you guys to enjoy and for you guys to get to know what I am thinking as the Liverpool game goes on, and for us to have an open discussion. I think that's kind of the whole point of this. And without further ado, let's just get right to it. So the first segment, I'll be talking about my thoughts before the game. So it's about half an hour before the game when I recorded it, and I'm actually doing this intro after I finished all three recordings. So I did the first segment, which was my thoughts on the lineup and key battles and things like that. And then the second segment was at halftime, what were my thoughts when Arsenal was up 1-0. And then at full time, what was my thoughts when Arsenal had won the game on penalties. But hopefully you guys do enjoy it. And if you haven't listened to the previous episodes of the Red Mist podcast, do listen. Yesterday we did a Community Shield preview with Sean, who is a friend of mine and who is also an ardent Arsenal fan. So we were talking a lot about Arsenal, and we did preview the Community Shield. You can listen to that and then listen to this, or you can listen to that and then find out how much of an idiot both of us were. But there you go. And without wasting much of your time, let's just get right to it. Right, so I'm recording this just as soon as the lineups have come out from both sides for the Community Shield. So Arsenal, we're going to start with them. Surprisingly, they're actually going with Emiliano Martinez. So for those of you who listened to the podcast yesterday that I did with Sean, previewing the Community Shield, you will know that we kind of speculated that Bernd Leno would start. Martinez only recently got out of quarantine, so I don't know how much of a preseason he's actually had before he's been sort of thrown into the team. But Emiliano Martinez does start in goal. Hector Bellerin, David Luiz, and Rob Holding. It seems like they're going with three at the back. I think that's sort of the initial impression that I got looking, or three or five, however you want to look at it. That's kind of the initial impression that I did get from looking at Arsenal's squad. So they've got Bellerin, Luiz, Holding, Kieran Tierney, and Ainsley Maitland-Niles. So I would assume Maitland-Niles would play left because I've seen him play there a couple of times, and Hector Bellerin has been quite good as a right back. So I think they're both going to be the wing backs. Left wing back is going to be Maitland-Niles and Bellerin on the right hand side, with Tierney, Holding, and Luiz in the middle. One thing that I did mention again yesterday to Sean was that we could potentially see Kieran Tierney sometimes play centre back. He is capable of playing centre back because he does do that for Scotland. Andy Robertson, of course, on the other side. We'll get to the Liverpool lineup in a moment, but when the two of them do play together, you can't have two left backs on the field at the same time. So Kieran Tierney does slot in as the centre back, and Robbo plays as the left back for Scotland. But so we've got sort of the back five out, and then we've got El Nenis, Granit Xhaka, who are going to be playing in the middle of the park, and then we've also got a front three of Bukayo Saka, Eddie Nketiah, and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. I'm not quite sure how it's going to work out. I think Nketiah is going to be playing on the right, Saka on the left, and Aubameyang up front. Which I think is pretty good. It's a pretty good forward line. I think it's pretty youthful, inexperienced. So they're going to go up against a fairly experienced Liverpool backline, and we will get to that. Although we'll get to the key battles and stuff that I do expect. So, like I said, this is before the game that I'm recording this part of the podcast, and we'll see how it plays out. But this is just sort of my expectation. On the bench, of course, Bernd Leno, Cedric Soares, new signing William Saliba also is on the bench, so we may get to see some of him at some point during the game. Sead Kolasinac, 19-year-old James Olayinka, and then we've got Joe Willock, another 19-year-old in Tyrese John Jules. Emil Smith Rowe as well makes the bench, as does Reece Nelson. So quite a bit of attacking talent there. I'm a little surprised Reece Nelson isn't starting and Eddie Nketiah has been preferred over him. Because I would have thought this is the kind of game that Reece Nelson could maybe get to prove himself and maybe stake a claim for a regular place in the starting 11. But yeah, there is no Nicolas Pepe, there is no Alexander Lacazette. These 8 of the Arsenal team that is starting today were part of the FA Cup final 4 weeks ago. So, majority of them have experienced the feeling of playing in a big game, playing in a final. But yeah, it's going to be a good game. On the Liverpool side of things, meanwhile, Alisson starts in goal. I wasn't sure if him or Adrian were going to start. Trent Alexander-Arnold is not fit. He's not even on the bench for today. Instead, it's Neco Williams getting a start at right back. The Wales international now, I should say, because he has been called up to the senior team this time for the international break that follows the Community Shield. So Neco Williams, Joe Gomez, Virgil van Dijk, Andy Robertson, standard four at the back except for Trent. And then we've got Fabinho, James Milner and Gini Wijnaldum. A lot of speculation regarding Wijnaldum's contract and transfer rumors to Barcelona and things like that, but that doesn't prevent him from being named in the starting lineup. Of course, Jordan Henderson's going to miss out on this game, so which means James Milner's going to be captaining the side. Jordan Henderson misses out. He's still recovering from that injury. Recovery is going well according to Jurgen Klopp. Joel Matip also misses out on the team, so he doesn't start. He's not even on the bench as well. Sadio Mane, Mo Salah, Bobby Firmino, all three of them start the Community Shield game, but how long they'll play for is still a question that remains to be answered. On the bench, Adrian, Naby Keita, Marco Grujic, who makes a return after playing in the Bundesliga for Hertha Berlin. He's actually done quite well there, and there are rumors that he is on the market. We don't know if he's going to be sold. I still see him as a good squad player, even if he doesn't. Even if he doesn't move to another team, so that's pretty good for him. Curtis Jones obviously had a breakout season last year. This season, he is of course on the bench for the Community Shield game. Takumi Minamino also makes it to the bench, a standard fixture there these days. New signing Kostas Tsimikas makes it to the bench. Andy Robertson, of course, preferred to him at this point. I did expect that Tsimikas might start, because I don't know if I was the manager, I don't know if I would risk Robertson for a Community Shield game, and I kind of want to give the fans a taste of Kostas Tsimikas as well. But we might still get to see some of Tsimikas, and we got to see him a little bit against Salzburg, against Stuttgart in the friendlies. But the first competitive game is always a big thing, and it's always a big step up from the preseason friendlies. So we might get to see Kostas Tsimikas for a little bit. Ryan Brewster makes it to the team, scored 11 goals in 22 games for Swansea last year after going on loan, and he's kind of trying to stake a claim for a place in I guess the not first 11, I don't think, but at least in the main squad, the first team squad. I think if rumors are to be believed, if news sources are to be believed, he is going to be playing some part in the Community Shield game, but he will end up going out on loan, hopefully to a Premier League club. And then, of course, we have Harvey Elliott and 17-year-old French centre-back Billy Koumetio. So for those of you who don't know Billy Koumetio, he was bought from Orléans, which is a French team, and he was also part of Lyon as well before that. Lyon, of course, being his boyhood club. So this is a guy who is, like I said, he's 17 years old. He signed his first professional contract this year in August, and has been training with the first team squad as well. I was pretty impressed with him over the preseason, and we can get into that, later on, maybe not today, maybe on some other podcast. I do have some interesting guests and people lined up, hopefully to come on the podcast later on. So we might probably get into it a little bit with them. But, I'm digressing off the point here. So these are the lineups for the Community Shield game. I think the key battle for me that I want to watch is the battle of two youngsters. I think Neco Williams against Bukayo Saka will be an interesting battle. I think it'll be a real test, because Bukayo Saka, like I said yesterday, was one of the emerging stars of the Arsenal team last year. Young player, full of energy down the left-hand side, capable of playing multiple positions for Arsenal. And Neco Williams he's whenever he's still raw on the edges. He's kind of like a younger Trent Alexander-Arnold at this point. His game is not as refined, but he is getting there. You can definitely see the potential in him, and I'm very excited for Neco. honestly, in the years to come. He's going to have to improve a lot to challenge Trent, but I think he is definitely capable of that. Aubameyang against the two centre backs, Gomez and Van Dijk. That's going to be a key battle. Aubameyang, obviously, no stranger to scoring goals. Scored 22 of them last year in the Premier League. Tied second with Danny Ings and behind Jamie Vardy. So Aubameyang against the centre backs is going to be crucial. Especially, it's a battle of pace. It's a battle of strength, and we have to see who comes out on top. A lot of eyes will be on Kieran Tierney. He is, of course, playing at centre back, so maybe not his 100% natural position. It's his left back, but I think that there's a lot of hype about him, especially from Arsenal channels on YouTube and stuff. But I mean, personally, as a Liverpool fan, I kind of want people to shut that hype up. So we'll kind of see how it goes. But he is a good player, don't get me wrong. It's not like he's a bad player or anything. It's just the hype has been a little too much. Like Robertson has been consistent for so long, and to say that, Kieran Tierney is on the same level as Andy Robertson after just a few games is, it's kind of ridiculous in my opinion. And he's definitely not better than Andy Robertson, I don't think, at least not at this stage. He's not performed or played in enough games to warrant me saying that. But overall, I think looking at the lineups and looking at possible substitutions and things like that, looking at the benches, I think personally this should be a win for Liverpool. Yesterday I went with a 2-1 win for Liverpool. I think looking at the strength of the front lines, I didn't expect all of the front three to start for Liverpool, but the boys are starting. So I think before the game, if I had to predict, there's still about 28 minutes left for kickoff, and at this point, I think I'm gonna go with like a 3-1 to Liverpool. I think we'll be rusty, so we will concede a goal. I think we have enough to score maybe one, maybe two in the first half, and then maybe get a third in the second half, I guess, after substitutions. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I'm especially excited to see Chimikas. I'm excited to see Ryan Brewster because he's been on really good form as well. Naby Keita, hopefully against good Premier League opposition, comes through one more time, just like he did since the restart. He's been very consistent since then. And hopefully, maybe surprising, but we might even get to see Billy Koumetio play in a competitive game. I don't think it's likely, but we might. You never know. But that's my pre-match, half an hour before the match predictions, and we'll see how it goes. And we'll just see how it goes, man. I'll come back at halftime with some analysis, hopefully, and I'll come back after full time for the full match reaction as well. Right, so we are at halftime as I'm recording this. Arsenal are 1-0 up against Liverpool in the Community Shield, a 12th minute goal from Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. I mean, where do I start? The first few minutes were good. We got a lot of forays into the Arsenal box. No real clear-cut chances. I mean, of course, there was the free kick which Virgil van Dijk turned in, and then it got flagged for offside, which was the right decision. I'm not here to argue against that decision. But honestly, if you wanted me to sum up the performance of the first half, it's just going to be, I'm just going to say Liverpool have been extremely sloppy. Arsenal have looked sharp. They have honestly looked like the better team. I mean, I know Liverpool have enjoyed a lot of the possession this half, but Arsenal have just generally done more with the ball, if that makes sense. Of course, towards the end of the half, that started to change a little bit. We got a lot of attacks, especially down the left hand side with Andy Robertson, James Milner as well. Both of them getting in quite a few crosses, and one of them did get a touch by Sadio Mane, which Virgil van Dijk was just a fraction of a second late. He couldn't quite connect to the ball. Ended up going out for a goal kick. But in general, if I had to sort of sum it up, barring the first maybe 7-8 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, let's say on the higher side, and barring the last 10 minutes, I think the period in between was just all Arsenal, and Arsenal have looked really good on the counter-attack. So a couple of things. I said I expected Bukayo Saka to play down the left-hand side for Arsenal. So credit to Mikel Arteta, he did switch up a lot of stuff. And one of the key things that he did was having Aubameyang play on the left-hand side against Neco Williams, who's our right back, having Bukayo Saka play on the right-hand side for Arsenal, and having Eddie Nketiah down the middle. So that does two things, and I think one of them was the key. Both of them obviously contributed to the goal. Saka with the assist and Aubameyang with the goal, which by the way was a well taken goal, an all round well taken goal. I mean, yes, we'll get into sort of the specifics of it, but I think one of the key elements of playing Aubameyang on the left and Saka on the right is that their stronger feet are the opposites. So Aubameyang's stronger foot is obviously the right foot, and Saka's is the left foot. So their natural instinct is to cut in and cross. And considering Liverpool play a high line and try to keep a high line. Now they're not going to play a high line as high as Bayern Munich do, but they do play a high line. If there's a defender out of position, he can get caught, which is exactly what happened with Neco Williams there. And Neco, I mean, I don't know if he was trying to keep a high line with Gomez, he was trying to stay online with the rest of them, but Aubameyang read that really well. He was quite far away from Neco Williams. So when he got the ball, he had the time to run at Neco Williams. Neco Williams is backpedaling at this point, not quite sure where he's going to go. Aubameyang's got the run on Neco Williams at that point. And from that, I mean, the moment he lined up the goal, you kind of knew it was over. Now, I'm going to put this down to Neco Williams' inexperience. He's not Trent Alexander-Arnold. I think Trent would have defended that better. Now, I'm not saying he could have prevented a goal if the same situation, but I think he would have he would have done a lot better. I think maybe Aubameyang doesn't have such a clear run at goal. And then, I mean, we've just looked very sloppy. Arsenal, like I said at the top of this segment, they've just looked sharper as a team. We haven't woken up, and I think if anything, this game, if we do end up losing it, should serve as a wake-up call, because this performance is not going to cut it. Like, even on opening day against Leeds, like, honestly, this performance is not going to cut it. We can't have such a high line. We can't be so high that Snoop Dogg things with his colleagues. I mean, it's not. We just can't do it, man. Look, I've never been a fan of the high line. Like, I mean, I like playing, even when I play Football Manager, I actually like playing the high line, but I've never been a fan of the way Liverpool play it for some reason. I know we won the title and all, but that's just been one of my own personal sort of gripes with this. And this is exactly why, because we play them against teams who can exploit us, and especially if we have defenders who aren't very good at it, or who aren't used to sort of this playing with their other backline compatriots. And for me, Neco Williams, I think I'm just going to put it down to inexperience. He's not played very often as well with Gomez and Van Dijk. So even when they were maintaining the line, he kind of fell off. But, it was a well-taken goal. The move itself was very, very good. Started out playing from the back. Very good use of the triangle there, right from Emiliano Martinez, playing it down the left-hand side. And then, ball goes to Saka. Saka puts in a lovely through ball to Aubameyang, and Aubameyang just it's just a well taken goal. Alisson had no chance with that, honestly. Another high profile error which fortunately didn't get punished was Joe Gomez giving the ball away. I think it was to Eddie Nketiah. And then Nketiah actually managed to try and finish off that move. Alisson came out with a good save in that one, sending it for a corner. But generally speaking, we've just been very sloppy, slow. And credit to Arsenal, one thing that I did notice was their overloading of our right-hand side. Of our right-hand side. So they've got Kieran Tierney bombing down. They've got Ainsley Maitland-Niles bombing down. And they've got Aubameyang as well. So Neco Williams and Gini Wijnaldum are faced with a sort of a 2-on-3 situation, which is not ideal. And honestly, Gini's just not done enough covering for covering the right hand side of our the right flank of ours. And these are games where we genuinely miss Jordan Henderson. Like, people outside of Liverpool, they don't realize the importance of Jordan Henderson. But like I said, you watch a game without Jordan Henderson. You just know how important he is. And this is a game that is a prime example of what Jordan Henderson does, because the number of times that he covers Trent Alexander-Arnold is insane. And on the other side, you can see James Milner does do a lot of covering for Andy Robertson, which is why you haven't seen too many attacks. Even though the goal did come through Andy Robertson's side, you haven't seen too many attacks come down our left. It's mostly been, Aubameyang, Maitland-Niles, Kieran Tierney pushing up, and Neco Williams at that point is just overloaded, and Gini Wijnaldum's honestly just been having a stinker. Front three, they've pretty much been invisible, and when they have been on the ball, they've been very unconvincing. Mo Salah did have a few good moments, but and Sadio Mane did have a couple of moments, but Roberto Firmino, he's just been bad. He's just having a stinker, honestly. I'm hoping that Klopp can give them a bollocking at halftime, and we can put in a better performance, but genuinely, I think based off of the play of the first half, I wouldn't be surprised if Arsenal actually score one more. I think they've looked really good on the counter. I think they've looked very, very good. And as a team, they've just looked sharper. They've just looked up for this game. I feel like they want this trophy more than Liverpool does. Like, that's the feeling that I'm getting. I'm not, complaining about the effort that the players have put in, because I think as a Liverpool Football Club, we do put in 100% effort, but I just don't think the will to win is there for some reason, or we're just not sharp, and we didn't look sharp in the game against Salzburg as well a couple of days ago. So I don't know how Klopp is going to rectify this before Leeds, especially with the international break coming up. But something needs to be done about it. There's just no question. But that's my raw reaction from halftime. We're just going to get back to the game, and we'll get back to recording this after full time, and you'll have my raw reaction then, depending on what the result is. Right, welcome back to Raw Reactions on the Red Mist podcast. After the Community Shield match between Arsenal and Liverpool, Arsenal coming out as 5-4 winners on penalties after a 1-1 draw across the 90 minutes. Now, at halftime, I said Arsenal was leading 1-0 and Klopp needed to give Liverpool a bollocking, and it appears like he did. Arsenal kind of started out well, but then most of the second half they were just content to park the bus. I mean, I am telling you, this was Victoria Station at its best. Like, honestly, they just parked the bus. There's Liverpool had attack after attack. Of course, we did find it difficult because of the fact that they had 11 men behind the ball. We did find it difficult to get inside their box. But as the minutes rolled on, we grew into the game, and I think what really changed the game was two things. One was the substitution and the fact that we brought in Naby Keita and Takumi Minamino. And I said Neco Williams had to be. It was turning out to be a nightmare for Neco Williams. Honestly, I think he needs this sort of game to realize the level he's supposed to get up to. But at the same time, this was turning out to be a nightmare, and he was taken off. And Minamino and Naby Keita did come on. And that changed the game entirely because we had to change formation after that as well. So we had a double pivot with Fabinho moving back to centre back, and then Gini Wijnaldum was there with Naby Keita as the double pivot, and then in front of them they had Bobby Firmino move back to play central attacking midfield. Salah played down the middle as the striker. Mane moved down to the right hand side, and Minamino came onto the left hand side. And first of all, I want to say Minamino is he's physically bulked up, like you can definitely see, and it's helping him a lot. He actually had a very, very good game. And that's discounting the goal. Like, his movement was on point, his touches were on point, his passes, the quick 1-2s, especially. There was a combination between him and Keita. There was another one between him and Firmino. All of them were just really, really good from Takumi Minamino. And for the first time, he actually looked like he belonged in the Premier League. And it's only going to serve him well this game, especially considering he did get the goal. Now, there was a little bit of a controversy there, whether it hit Salah's hand or not, but I think it was just too close to his body. Even if it did hit him, I don't think it did. It was kind of unclear to me from the replays. And the commentary team that was there on BT Sport, they were like, it didn't hit his hand. So, I'm just going to trust them on that. But so it didn't hit his hand, and it fell to Minamino, and Minamino, good finish into the bottom corner. Past Emiliano Martinez, who, by the way, had a very, very good game, thwarted two very good chances for Sadio Mane. Now, Sadio Mane should have finished that off, but, it was just good keeping, to be fair, to Martinez, because I think the first one he was through on goal 1-on-1, and Martinez just stayed up as long as possible, and then he just got down at the right moment to get the ball out of Mane's feet. And the second one came out quickly out of his goal as soon as Mane controlled it. Maybe did Mane take a touch too many? Maybe, I don't know, but personally I think Martinez deserves credit for that. And then obviously the game, once the equalizer went in, I think Arsenal realized they needed to attack, and the game sort of went back to what it was prior to Arsenal sitting back, more open, more enjoyable, I suppose. But I mean, I say enjoyable, but it's just a relative term, because I don't think this was better than last year's Community Shield between City and Liverpool. So as a game, I think, it is what it is. But so Minamino gets his goal, and obviously that's a massive confidence boost to him. I said before, when I was doing the very first episode of the podcast, in fact, I said that two things that I'm looking for this season. I want consistency from Naby Keita, I want him to continue his form from the restart, and I want Minamino to start looking like a Liverpool player, I guess, is the best way to paraphrase it. And both of them did that today. Keita was really good. He was turning players inside out, getting through midfield, getting through lines of Arsenal midfielders, playing some good passes as well. And Minamino, absolutely brilliant, brilliant play all round. Unfortunately, couldn't get the result. The only sort of miss was Ryan Brewster, who I don't know, he went for power instead of placement, like Mo Salah does often, for example, and he actually ended up hitting the crossbar. After which it just got skied, and Arsenal put all five penalties into the back of the net past Allison. So Allison's never been really. At least I haven't seen him save too many penalties, and I mean, in fact, I think if you ask a lot of Liverpool fans, they probably will tell you that Adrian is probably the better keeper to have in a penalty shootout. But it is what it is. And Ryan Brewster came on in the last few minutes. I was actually a little surprised by a couple of things that he came on in the last few minutes. Is one of them. And I thought he might have actually played a little bit more, but to be fair to the players on the pitch, like they didn't need Brewster at that point because the change in formation, like I said, it worked brilliantly. Like we were able to Bobby Firmino was more involved. Mo Salah became more involved in the game. Mane, look, I mean, he didn't. I mean, he was good when it came to sort of finding himself in the right place at the right time, but just needs to finish those chances off. But all, I mean, if I was to sort of grade the entire front three who played the 90 minutes, which again, another thing I'm surprised by, the fact that Bobby, Salah, and Mane pretty much played the entire 90 minutes. Um, that's another thing I'm surprised by. Of course, I know a few people got substituted maybe towards the end, but I was just very surprised. Bobby got substituted, I think, for Rian. I was a little surprised by the fact that they played almost the entire game, because I would have thought Klopp would have saved them up for the Premier League. But anyway, that's getting beside the point. That's neither here nor there, to be honest. But as a whole, I think the front three, they were quite average. In fact, if this is the form that they're going to carry into the new season, which I don't think will be the case, but at least for the first few games, we need to pick it up really fast, especially against Leeds, because the games after that are Chelsea away and Arsenal at home. So we need to pick it up really quickly, and they need to be back at their fluid best, because today was far from their best performance. All of the front three, and I'm not just pinpointing Bobby or Mo or Sadio. I mean, it's all three of them. In fact, the only reason we actually did well was, I think, Keita and Minamino. But there you go. That the Tokyo Typhoon. That's what I call him. He's one of my favorite players already, just because of the fact that he's representing Asia, and I'm Asian. I'm Indian, but India is part of Asia. So yeah, so he's Asian, I'm Asian, so the Tokyo Typhoon's like one of my favorite players there. One other thing I was surprised by, Kostas Tsimikas did not make an appearance. I would have thought he might have. Like I said, I didn't think Andy Robertson would be one of those who played the full 90 minutes, but, he did play the full 90, so, I mean, fair play to him. I would have liked to have seen Kostas. Robertson, of course, was having a very good game, so I can't really fault. It's not really like Klopp's fault or anything for Chimikas not to be brought on. So I'm not too mad at that. But yeah, overall, a very good game from Arsenal's point of view, I think. I think they played really, really well. I don't know if they deserved a win or anything like over the 90 minutes, because during the second half, I think I would say Liverpool were the better team by far, except for maybe the last 10 minutes. As for Liverpool, this was not prime Liverpool. This was more the Liverpool that resembled the team that lost 4-0 to Man City, immediately after winning the title. So this was a very lethargic, very sloppy Liverpool. And I think one of the key things was the fact that there was no off-the-ball movement, which is kind of characteristic of Liverpool. So, for example, one instance during the match, Virgil van Dijk comes forward and he's looking for a pass, but there's literally no movement around in around the Arsenal box, and he ends up losing the ball to Aubameyang, who comes back to tackle him. So I think incidents like that, very lethargic, very. There was a lot of time when you felt like this was not Liverpool, like this was not the Liverpool that you're used to seeing, and that's kind of something. I guess you can put it down to the fact that it's the first competitive game. It's still in the middle of preseason. I mean, you have to remember normally this game would occur after 4 or 5 weeks of preseason, but this is the second week of preseason pretty much, or third week of preseason pretty much, for both Liverpool and Arsenal at this point. So it's disappointing, yes, to lose the Community Shield. Like I said, I would like to win it. It would have been another trophy as well, but I'm not, it's the Community Shield at the end of the day, and it's not a serious trophy. Like, yeah, I would even rate the League Cup or the FA Cup above this. So it's not a serious trophy as such. And we lost it on penalties. Penalties, once it gets to penalties, it's just a lottery. So you never know who's going to win. You never know who's going to come home. And I mean, Allison, we haven't seen too much of him in penalty situations, but as far as I know, I don't think he's saved too many of them. I may be wrong on that. Someone needs to fact check me, but I think Adrian's a better keeper. I think statistically, at least, on penalties. But there you go, Arsenal. Congratulations, Community Shield champions for 2020, winners of the FA Cup for 2020. So, maybe it's the start of good times for them. I don't know, or we'll have to see how the season goes. Of course, Arsenal open against Fulham away, and Liverpool open against Leeds United at home. So that will be on September 12th. Now, of course, between then and now, there is an international break. A lot of interesting games. Iceland against England is one of them. Spain against Germany is another in the Nations League as well. So a couple of these Liverpool boys are going to the international break. Trent Alexander-Arnold, Joe Gomez, both of them going. It's a weird England team, but this is not an international podcast, so I'm not going to elaborate too much on it. But it's a weird team because there is actually no recognized left back in the England squad. So I don't know who's going to play left back at that. I genuinely don't know who's going to play left back against Iceland and Denmark, but it is what it is. And Gareth Southgate, you just do what you do, man. But this podcast is not about the England football team. It is about Liverpool Football Club. And unfortunately, today the game did not go our way. I can't say it's a deserved win for Arsenal. I think, like I said, Liverpool did have some moments, but in the end, they did pull out the win. So fair play to them. And I mean, we do have another episode of the podcast lined up for some time later this week with another Liverpool fan, a friend of mine as well, and we will be looking at the Liverpool season together, and hopefully, previewing the Liverpool season, maybe get some new perspectives that I may not have as a Liverpool fan, but another person who's a Liverpool fan would have. So yeah, we've got that later on this week, and then we'll have the season, of course. But yeah, do follow us on social media at and on Instagram it is the Red Mist Podcast. On Twitter it is the Red Mist Pod. And I mean, I guess that's pretty much it. Wherever you are, have a good day. If you're an Arsenal fan, please do celebrate. It is a trophy and probably the only one you might win this season. Although I say that, they do actually have a way with the FA Cups. But yeah, do celebrate if you're an Arsenal fan. If you're not an Arsenal fan, or if you're not a Liverpool fan, hopefully you enjoyed a good game of football. Personally, I think it wasn't that great, but whatever. And I will see you back again very, very soon. Good night, goodbye, and have a very, very good week.